ever wish your day wasn't dictated by your health? Are you tired of being tired all the time, or is pain holding you back from enjoying your time with your family? Would you like to manage your symptoms holistically, but you just don't know where to begin? I am so excited that you're here. This podcast will help you understand how natural remedies work so you can relieve your symptoms and live a fuller life. My name is Penny. I'm an occupational therapist, past pharmaceutical rep, a mom, and a wife with a strong faith, and for 25 years, I battled through debilitating Crohn's disease. I took all the medicine and did all the surgeries that stole so much time with my family, but never truly healed me. I finally realized if I was going to survive this disease, I needed to open my stubborn eyes to alternative solutions. I researched how perfectly our bodies work with plants and a lifestyle that made my health less of a burden to my family and aligned so beautifully with my faith and my medical training. If you're ready to reclaim your life with holistic options that are easy to implement as a busy mom and provide relief that lasts, this is the podcast for you. Early on, when I was waking up to understanding how to read labels, I was at the store standing in the supplement aisle holding two bottles that looked almost identical. Same ingredients, same dosage, same promises that they were the best of the best on the front, and one was almost double the price. And I remember thinking, there's no way these are actually the same thing. And if they are, we've got a problem. So what's the difference? So I flipped them over and the label told the story. One had a long list of fillers and colors and additives I didn't recognize, many words I couldn't even pronounce. The other had just a few simple ingredients, and it mentioned something called independent testing. That moment stayed with me, and I learned less is more when it comes to ingredients, and I dug in to learn what it actually means to be independently tested and why that matters so much, because it revealed something I've now seen again and again. Two products can look nearly identical on the outside and create completely different results in our bodies based on what is actually on the inside. Hey friends, welcome back to Becoming Natural. I felt like this was a conversation that we definitely needed to have because so many of us are standing in the aisles at our stores trying to choose between products that all look good and not really knowing how to tell the difference. I continue to call out making sure something is quality, but how do you know what is quality with all the marketing terms, all the different ingredients and the promises? So today's episode 75, welcome, and I'm going to walk you through the Becoming Natural 5-filter test that I use when I'm looking at products. How to read a label in a really simple way, and the 5 things that I look for that help me decide very quickly if something is worth bringing home when you're standing in the middle of the aisle. Have you ever stood there in the store comparing two products just like I was and felt completely unsure which one to choose? Maybe it's a supplement, maybe it's a protein powder, maybe it's a lotion or a shampoo, or even something as simple as peanut butter. They all say natural, they all say clean, they all look trustworthy, but something in you hesitates because deep down you're thinking, I don't actually know how to tell the difference. And that's what we're going to change today. Because this doesn't just apply to supplements. It applies to what you put in your body, what you put on your body, and what you bring into your home. Your food, your body care, and your wellness products. Labels are everywhere, and the longer and more confusing they are becoming. So once you understand how to read them, at least a little bit, so much becomes clearer. There will be a lack of clarity at times when reading labels. You don't have to know everything, but knowing just a few important clues will take you a very long way in knowing whether to put it back on the shelf or put it in your cart. Something that may or may not surprise you, not all labeling language is regulated. Some words are, many are not. So for example, the word organic is regulated only to a point when it's paired with the official certification, like USDA certified organic. I've said that many times. But this is one of those small details that changes how you read labels because organic only carries its full meaning when it's backed by the USDA organic seal. Without that, phrases like organic or made with organic ingredients can be used much more loosely and are really good at fooling the consumer, meaning us. So you have to be so careful. Words like natural, clean, non-toxic, pure, premium, clinically proven, those often have no standardized definition, none whatsoever, which means companies can use them without proving much at all. So if you see those words, it's best to pretend that they aren't even there at all. Go straight to the label. The louder, in my opinion, that the front is shouting at you, the more cynical I become, unfortunately. And if it's trying a little bit too hard, it's a sure sign it's not what you think it is. And studies in consumer behavior have actually shown that people are significantly more likely to trust products labeled natural, even when the ingredient quality is identical. That's been demonstrated in multiple food label perception studies over the past decade. That's not necessarily malicious, it's just marketing. Entire teams study consumer psychology. We all know this. Color choices, font styles, word selection, every little detail is thought about. Nothing is accidental because the human brain makes decisions quickly. No one wants to spend hours at the store reading labels on everything we purchase. We associate green with healthy, white with clean, gold with premium, and marketers know that before we ever get to the store. We've already formed an opinion before we ever turn that bottle or jar around and read the label. Now, if we layer in the science side of this, independent analysis of supplements have found that some products contain even significantly more or less of an ingredient than what's even listed on the label. And in some cases, entirely different compounds have been detected. With body care, your skin is not just a barrier, it's a living organ. Research in dermatology and pharmacology shows that certain compounds, especially small, fat-soluble compounds, can pass through the skin and enter our circulation. So when you're applying something like a scented lotion or a body product, some of those ingredients aren't just sitting on the surface. They can actually be absorbed into the body. And when we're talking about food packaging, studies have shown that chemicals from plastics can move into food over time, especially with heat or with fat. Think about something like microwaving food in plastic or leaving a plastic water bottle in a hot car. Those conditions make that transfer highly likely. So this isn't about fear, it's just about being aware because small exposures repeated over time can add up. In the same way we talk about small changes for the better, repeated over time, can add up as well. We just have to be educated. So instead of trying to memorize everything, I use a simple checklist. And this works across supplements, skincare and body care, packaged foods, kitchen products, whatever you're looking at. It just helps you kind of narrow down and rule out the really bad products. But I've kind of tenderly named it the Becoming Natural 5-filter test. Every product typically passes through 5 questions. Number 1, meaningful certification. Number 2, independent testing. Number 3, manufacturing transparency. Number 4, ingredient purity. And number 5, material safety. You don't need to know everything. You just need to know a few things to look for. So filter number 1, certifications versus marketing. This is where I always start. It's a really quick way to rule things in or out because certifications require proof. Marketing language does not. Meaningful certifications include USDA organic. So they focus on how something is grown, how something is sourced. And the certification is about their farming practices, the soil quality, pesticide use. GMOs are not allowed, how ingredients are produced. So it answers, was this grown cleanly? So it's a really great identification to look for. NSF is a certification, which stands for National Sanitation Foundation. That focus is safety and contamination and facility standards. This looks at contaminants such as heavy metals and microbes, manufacturing conditions, and label accuracy to a degree. It answers, is this safe and is this properly made? Next is USP verified. That focuses on purity and potency and performance. It verifies correct ingredients, correct dosage, proper breakdown and absorption, pharmaceutical level consistency. It answers, is this exactly what it claims to be and does it work as expected? These involved actual inspection and verification processes. I can instantly find a reputable product If it has the USDA organic certification seal on the front, or if NSF certified or USP verified, then I trust it. And if a product has achieved these certifications, they are not going to hide it. They are going to display it with pride. So you will not have to look very hard to find it. So if you don't see it, it's not regulated. It's not certified. Marketing phrases that sound meaningful but aren't regulated are things like all natural, doctor recommended. Might I remind you that when you see the asterisk at the bottom of a pharmaceutical commercial indicating the person in the lab coat with the stethoscope around their neck is actually just an actor, insert eye roll, that's what doctor recommended means. So also clinically proven, it is not regulated, non-toxic, chemical-free. Everything in the world is made of chemicals, even water. So chemical-free is not even a scientific statement. It's a marketing phrase. Certifications require evidence. Marketing requires none. So filter number 2, independent testing. Testing answers one question: is what's on the label actually in the product? Third-party testing can verify identity, potency, contamination, and contamination really matters. Studies analyzing supplements have found the presence of heavy metals like lead and arsenic in some products, as well as microbial contamination when manufacturing controls are weak. So now, a quick moment of discernment. COAs are certificates of analysis, and they're very, very helpful. But you must check the date. You need to check the batch, because testing should be ongoing, not something done once years ago. If you find a COA that's 5 years old, either they're not keeping up with their testing or they're not selling much product. So while most companies are honest, there have been more than a few documented cases in the industry investigations where COAs were either reused across batches or completely misrepresenting the product. In fact, it's becoming more and more difficult to verify COAs as the bad players know that consumers are becoming more educated consumers, and they're getting pretty creative at crafting fake COAs. So we just need to stay aware without becoming suspicious of absolutely everything. Filter number 3, manufacturing transparency. This filter is really about one thing: visibility. How much can you actually see about how this product was made? Because quality companies tend to be very open and very proud of their product. They don't hide behind vague language. They show you their process. You'll often see the term GMP. That stands for Good Manufacturing Practices. And that sounds kind of technical, but it's actually very practical. It means the product is made in a facility that follows standardized procedures for cleanliness, quality control, consistent dosing, documentation of every batch. So instead of guessing, there are systems in place to make sure each bottle is produced the same way every time. You won't get fluctuating products. Why this matters more than people realize is without strong manufacturing practices, 2 bottles of the same product could be completely different. Different potency, different purity, different contamination risk. And that's not theoretical. And this happens all the time when things are not regulated. There have been cases where inconsistent manufacturing led to products being underdosed or overdosed or even contaminated. So GMP helps reduce that variability. So let's talk just a minute about traceability. Traceability simply means if there's a problem, can we track it back to the source? Can we identify where the ingredients came from, how they were processed, what batch they belong to? You know, when they do a recall notice, they can find out what batch was sold to you. Because when something goes wrong, whether it's contamination or inconsistencies, traceability determines how quickly it can be identified and corrected. And this is where label language actually matters. There's a small detail here that most people miss, but it tells you a whole lot. The difference between made in the USA and bottled in the USA. Those are not the same thing, my friends. So here's what that can look like in real life. A product may say bottled in the USA, which sounds, oh, that's great. I see USA. That's really reassuring. But what that can actually mean is the raw ingredients were sourced overseas, shipped in bulk in a big container, and simply bottled in the United States. So with very little visibility into how they were grown, processed, or handled before arriving to the United States. Whereas a product that is sourced, processed, manufactured, and bottled within the same controlled system typically offers much stronger traceability and oversight. For companies that do it all in-house, we call that vertical integration. Simple question to ask here is, how much is the company willing to show me? Because transparency builds trust, and vague language usually means there's more to the story. So let's have a grounding moment. Again, this is not about perfection. There are good products sourced globally. This is just about being aware, because the more visibility and transparency that you have, the more confident you can be in what you're choosing. So filter number 4, ingredient purity. The ingredient list, because the front of the label is the sales pitch, the back is actually the truth. So when it comes to, we're going to break this down into supplements and food and body care. Look for unnecessary additives in supplements, such as artificial dyes. Why do we need something dyed a certain color? Synthetic fillers. Keyword fillers means unnecessary and synthetic means fake. Why do we need fake, unnecessary ingredients at all? Just don't put them in. Preservatives without a purpose. States the obvious. Artificial sweeteners. There are so many products that have sweeteners that we don't need. It's unbelievable when you start reading your labels, especially artificial sweeteners like sucralose. Look back 2 weeks ago at our fake sugars episode, and it's been shown in some human and animal studies to alter your gut microbiome composition and potentially influence your insulin response and appetite signaling. So one of the simplest questions I ask is, what is sweetening the product? Because that alone can eliminate a surprising number of options. Anything with fake sugars. So in food, you want to watch for added sugars or sugars that are under multiple names, because there's a lot of names, refined oils in unexpected places, flavor enhancers, and especially the phrase natural flavors. I don't know if you know this, but because regulatory guidelines allow natural flavors to represent complex mixtures of compounds that don't have to be individually disclosed. What about that? So I started a deep dive actually on natural flavors here, and I was more surprised than I expected at how many things are hidden under the term natural flavors. So I'm actually going to cover them high level here today and expand on what can be under natural flavors umbrella and why it matters in the next podcast, all to its own. Way more information than I expected, quite eye-opening. So a natural flavor is not a single ingredient. It can be a mixture of dozens, even hundreds of compounds that are extracted, isolated, concentrated, and chemically processed to create a specific taste or aroma. Many natural flavors are generally recognized as safe. Remember, we've heard that term before, GRAS, generally recognized as safe in small amounts. But how much processed food with, quote, natural flavors listed as ingredients do you have in a day? Those add up. So it may be generally recognized as safe in small amounts, but if you're eating the same granola bar 3 times a day, that's adding up. Bottom line, you don't have full transparency with natural flavors, and natural doesn't always mean simple. Come back next week because there's a whole lot of information left in that department. And body care, look for parabens and phthalates, synthetic fragrance blends. So fragrance mixtures have been studied for their potential to contain dozens of undisclosed components, some of which have been evaluated for endocrine disrupting potential. So a simple guiding question, does this ingredient list make sense? Or is it trying to hide something? Natural is loosely defined. The USDA generally interprets natural to mean nothing artificial or synthetic has been added that wouldn't normally be expected. But this is not strictly enforced in most cases. It is not tied to a percentage or a volume. It's not even standardized across product categories. So a product can be labeled natural and still contain a large amount of non-active ingredients. Ingredient purity is very important when choosing the right products that go anywhere on, in, or around your body. But think about natural flavors in food equal to fragrances that you see in body products, the same umbrella that can hide a whole lot of information in some very tiny words. So filter number 5, which is often overlooked, is the material safety, what your product is delivered to you in. But this is so important and a lesson I'm definitely learning. Plastics and chemicals can migrate. So I bet you have heard a million times that something is BPA free. What does that actually mean? Compounds like BPA have been widely studied because they can mimic estrogen and interact with hormone receptors in the body. So something demonstrated in research from institutions like the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences. Because of this, many products now say BPA free. Yay, definitely look for that. But guess what? BPA is often replaced with similar compounds like BPS or BPF, as in Frank. And early research now suggests that these may have similar biological activity as BPA. So when you think of plastics, you are focusing not necessarily on the product that you're getting, but the product packaging. And BPA free doesn't mean it's also BPS or BPF free. Is it in a plastic jar? Has the plastic leached into your food or into your lotion that you're rubbing all over your body? It's always best to choose a glass jar, and even better, an amber glass bottle if it's an option, because amber glass prevents light damage or breakdown of any valuable natural ingredient. And heat changes everything. Studies have shown that heat increases the rate at which chemicals migrate from plastic into food. So things like microwaving in plastic microwave containers that you buy at the store, hot food in plastic containers that you're saving in your refrigerator, water bottles in the car, they all increase exposure. So your safest materials are going to be glass. So when you think about storing your food or your leftovers, think about glass, stainless steel, or ceramic. Not perfect, but definitely more stable. So making this a little bit practical, what you're going to do, if you see 2 jars of peanut butter, jar number 1 says natural, protein packed, heart healthy. It's in a plastic jar, and you flip it over. It has peanuts, sugar, hydrogenated oils, and natural flavors. Jar number 2, peanuts, salt, glass jar. That's it. It's clarity. Fewer ingredients, glass jar. Think about how it was 25, 30 years ago or more. It's way better that way. So let's review some common mistakes most of us have made, self-included, when we're trying to choose better products, because once you see these, you can't unsee them in a good way. Mistake number 1, trusting the front label. You know what I mean? That natural, clean, made with real ingredients, no artificial anything. It feels very reassuring, but the front of the package is 100% marketing. It is designed to catch your eye, not necessarily to tell the full story. So one of the simplest shifts that you can make is this. Do not let the front of the package make the decision for you. Let it invite your curiosity, but do not have blind trust in the package. Mistake number 2, ignoring the ingredient list. This is where the real information lives. And I get it. Sometimes it's tiny, it's overwhelming, or it feels like, do I really have time to sit here and read everything and decode all of this? But even a quick scan can tell you so much. Are these ingredients even recognizable? Are there long, complex names that don't sound like food? They probably aren't. Is natural flavors doing a lot of the heavy lifting on this bottle? You shouldn't need a chemistry degree to read your food labels. The ingredient list is where the truth quietly sits. Mistake number 3, assuming that a higher price means higher quality. This one probably surprised me the most because I knew a lot of those other things, but because there are plenty of products that look premium, beautiful packaging, earthy colors, and a higher price point, and they still contain the same fillers, same stabilizers, or vague ingredients. Price can reflect branding just as much as it reflects quality, and we all know that you can buy products that you might go in and they're 3 different brand names, but they're all made at the same factory. So it's the exact same product inside every single bottle, and they all just have their own brand name on the front of it. So instead of asking, is this expensive? We start asking, is this transparent? And this is really the heart of my little 5 filter test that I've created. It's not perfection. It's not trying to instill fear. It's just learning how to pause for a second and see more clearly what you're purchasing and how, when you don't know what to do, to try to make an educated guess. Because when you know what you're looking at, you start making decisions from a place of understanding instead of total confusion. And that's where we begin to understand and we begin to make tiny shifts in our lives for the positive. You do not have to change everything overnight. There is no need to clear out your entire kitchen tonight or your bathroom. The system that has worked for me to prevent getting overwhelmed, because I will get overwhelmed easily, is not by removing everything in my pantry or my bathroom that's poor, but as I'm buying new groceries or I'm replacing my bathroom products, I simply replace what I need with something that is safe, something with quality products using my little 5-step method. I memorized my way through school using acronyms, so perfectly suited for Becoming Natural 5 filter test, I created a little acronym to help you remember it. It's called Make It Matter in Moments, MIMIM, meaningful certifications, independent testing, manufacturing transparency, ingredient purity, and material safety. Make it matter in moments and small, steady shifts. Because underneath all of this, ingredients, labels, testing, certifications is something much simpler. It's called stewardship. I know I say this word a lot, but it's so true. In 1 Corinthians 6, 19 and 20, we're reminded, do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies. And I think sometimes that verse can feel a little bit heavy, but like every decision has to be perfect. Like we're supposed to get everything right all the time, but that's not the heart behind it at all. This isn't about pressure. It's about awareness. It's about recognizing that your body matters, that it was designed with intention, that it's worth caring for. And even better, when you care for it properly, you feel so much better. You don't have aches. You don't get sick. You feel a little bit lighter, less inflammation. It's all wins when you treat your body like a temple. And stewardship doesn't have to look like a complete lifestyle overhaul in one day. Sometimes it looks like taking the time to read a label on 2 items when you're in the grocery store, asking one more better question, choosing a slightly cleaner option when it's available. Not perfectly, but just caring enough to be intentional. Because the truth is, none of us are going to get this right 100% of the time. Our food system is incredibly complex and difficult and frustrating. Our environment, the same, overwhelmingly complex and difficult. Even our best options are not always perfect. And the beautiful thing is that once you understand what to look for, you don't have to rely on guesswork anymore. You don't have to chase every new wellness trend that may not be good for you anyway. You don't have to memorize brands or product names. You just learn how to ask better questions because you don't need more information. You need a filter. So the next time you're standing in the aisle, holding those 2 products that look almost identical, come back to this, the Becoming Natural 5 filter test. Meaningful certifications, independent testing, manufacturing transparency, ingredient purity, and material safety. 5 simple questions that can bring back clarity into your hands. And that, in its own very quiet little way, is stewardship for your body. You don't have to know everything. You just have to know a couple top things to look for. And when you do, you are replacing that confusion and that panic and the overwhelm where you just give up and walk away because you just don't know how to make the right choice. You might even make a small little cheat sheet from today's episode, something you can keep on your phone and take with you into the store. In fact, I'll try to make a little freebie on here that you can take in your hands. Make it matter in moments. Meaningful certifications, independent testing, manufacturing transparency, ingredient purity, material safety. MIMIM. So keep becoming one intentional step at a time. If something in today's conversation stayed with you, please share it with someone who you think might need it too. And if this podcast has been a steady voice in your week, please leave a rating or review because it's one of the kindest way that you can help it to reach more women. Thank you so much for being here, for learning, for growing, for paying attention in a world that often moves too fast. Keep becoming one small, faithful step at a time. Have a great week. One tool I use regularly is red light therapy. I chose Loombox for its medical grade red and near infrared LEDs studied for skin health, supporting collagen, circulation, and overall skin tone. It's non-invasive, practical, and built for long-term home use. Save $260, almost 58% off at becomingnatural.com/red light. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you've enjoyed today's episode, hit that follow button, leave a 5-star review if you're so willing, and help spread the message of Becoming Natural by sharing it with a friend. Check out the resources in the show notes and join the email list to stay on top of all the latest and greatest happenings at Becoming Natural as we roll out exciting new things while we grow. Until next time, take those baby steps to a more natural life and always give yourself grace. Progress, not perfection, is the goal. See you next week.